At least one person has been shot dead in Kenya during protests for electoral reform. The protests have been taking place in several areas of the country, including the western city of Kisumu. Demonstrators appear to be ignoring the national police chief, who warned that police will use lethal force if necessary against the protests. Let's go straight to John Allan-Namu in Nairobi. John, what is the very latest?
Well, the very latest is that person who is alleged to have been killed, pictures have been circulating online, allegedly, of the person who was killed in Kisumu, but yet to be confirmed by the government or by agencies who may be involved with rescue efforts in that part of the country. That part of the country seems to be experiencing the most intense demonstrations so far today, with quite a bit of damage being witnessed to property as well as injuries of at least 4 other people in the protests there. In Nairobi, so far the protests haven't turned as violent, although there is quite a bit of tension in the city center where the offices of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission are situated. But for now, those reports of that one person having been killed coming in, yet to be confirmed by the police or by agencies such as usually take control of rescue and treatment efforts in situations of protest here in Kenya.
John, what exactly are they protesting about?
Well, the Coalition for Reforms and Democracy is protesting against the presence of certain office holders, office bearers within the Independent and Electoral Boundaries Commission, who they see as being linked to a corruption scandal that incidentally broke in the United Kingdom over tendering for documents and materials for use in the last election. The people on the United Kingdom side of that scandal have all been jailed, but nothing has happened here. But there also are allegations about technical inadequacy as well as liability over the performance of the Independent and Electoral Boundaries Commission in the last election, a controversial one whose decision went to the Supreme Court, the presidential decision at least. So the credibility of the Independent and Electoral Boundaries Commission is in question, at least from members of the Coalition for Reforms and Democracy.
John, how worrying is this latest violence? Because I suppose the worry is that we go back to 2007, the last set of elections, which led to so many people being killed.
Well, that's a concern for a lot of people here in Kenya, that the violence would become uncontrollable and sort of take a life of its own. The church had tried to mediate. Members of different denominations of the Christian faith had tried to intervene some weeks back. The Private Sector Alliance had also tried to intervene, and there seemed to have been hope that there would be discussions between the president and his deputy, as well as the opposition members led by Raila Odinga. In fact, the impasse that we are seeing unfolding into demonstrations today was based on an alleged agreement that the two groups had reached last Wednesday, when the president and the deputy president met with Raila Odinga and Moses Wetangula, who form part of the Coalition for Reforms and Democracy. But definitely there is a palpable fear, especially in populated areas like Kisumu, like Nairobi, that the violence will reach a crescendo. There also has been threats from the other side, the Jubilee faction of government, saying with one member of parliament saying that he would bring his own protesters to town to counter these demonstrations, and implying that those demonstrators would be violent with anybody caught on the streets, as they were enforcing a court order barring the protesters from the Coalition for Reforms and Democracy from protesting on the streets. So very tense moments right now.
Indeed. Okay, John, many thanks for talking us through that. Our reporter John Allan-Namu telling us about those protests in Nairobi. We believe one person, perhaps 2, have been killed.